Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. Let's check in with White House correspondent Monica Page at the White House. Hey, Monica, big news yesterday on the big announcements of all these tariffs. Can you kind of give us an update what the tariffs are, what people should expect, what the president's saying, what the White House is saying? Just run with it.
Yep, all the above, Jobob. Well, we're here at a very windy White House where the president just left to head off to the Mar-a-Lago and also to a live golf dinner this weekend as well. But he said the markets are going to boom. He was asked about a question upon his departure about the markets because they are seeing a little bit of a slump after this huge tariff announcement just this week from the Rose Garden. But he said, listen, don't worry about what's happening right now. The markets are going to boom. This is short-term pain, long-term gains. And do want to show you this handout that they gave us yesterday. This is a chart of every country that is tariffing us. This is pages long. It's got to be about 6 or 7 pages long of every single country and their tariffs that they implemented on the United States. And now we're implementing those tariffs back onto them. So it's not fully reciprocal. This is actually a baseline. So if another country tries to violate a trade agreement or something or other, these numbers that the US is implementing on these other countries can go up. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And I know that Vietnam so far on this list, and Israel has already canceled 100% of their tariffs on the United States. So that's a good thing. That's a start. And now there's rumors that India and Thailand are going to be removing their tariffs on the United States as well. So we'll see what happens there. But it's very interesting. There's actually a country on this list called Heard and McDonald Islands. This is a population of 0. But somehow they have 10% tariffs on us, and now we're implementing 10% tariffs on them. This island is inhabited fully by penguins, believe it or not.
Mm.
And the reason why President Trump is doing reciprocal tariffs on them is because if another country decides, oh, well, I don't want to move my company to the United States, I'm going to go to this island completely inhabited by penguins. Trump says, yeah, well, I'm going to get ahead of you in case you want to do that, and I'm going to put tariffs on you. So very interesting strategy here. But President Trump says, hey, trust the process. This is only temporary. So trust the process.
Yeah, maybe that island is also an importer of tuxedos, considering the penguin population. The whole process is going to be fascinating to watch. It is really interesting to see a lot of people just innately react to, oh my gosh, this is terrible because the market is down. You said it at first, short-term pain for long-term gain. Let's hope that's how it works out. There are a bunch of countries out there that are totally screwing the American people when it comes to importing tariffs into their country. And the people that are super upset about that are actually organizing. There is going to be a big protest, or at least scheduled to be a big protest in Washington, D.C., but around the country. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's called Hands Off 2025. It's organized by a bunch of different groups, Women's March, the pro-Palestinian movement, you name it. They will be here, anti-ICE, anti-deportations. They're all gathering on the National Mall on Saturday from around 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And I guess they plan on coming around here at the White House. And, Secret Service is really clamping down on this because there were supposed to be White House garden tours on Saturday, all early morning and early afternoon. But they've actually had to reschedule those tours to Sunday. So now everyone has to come on Sunday because they're that concerned about the large amount of people that are coming out to protest. They're protesting, saying that Elon Musk and President Trump are looting the government, and they're wreaking havoc on the American people, and they're stealing from Americans, and that's could not be further from the truth. I mean, if you actually listen to what President Trump has to say and his policies and how they'll actually help us at home domestically, they would feel much different. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Saturday. I'll be there covering it on behalf of Turning Point and Frontline, so I'll definitely be putting out some content. So definitely follow along.
It is fascinating, Monica. Did the March for Life had a bunch of security concerns? Because it feels like when conservatives protest, nobody's really concerned about looting or lighting the White House on fire or canceling Rose Garden tours. It's just when the libs do that there seems to be massive security concerns. Fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah, Monica Page, Turning Point's White House correspondent. Hey, stay safe this weekend, and we will talk to you probably Monday.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you. It's going to be interesting to see how the libs respond if, in fact, things generally get better for American manufacturing and the American people as a whole. Another thing that libs don't like seeing is when, you do things that are common sense, policy-driven issues, and, they just don't like it. The most recent iteration of this is when President Trump signed the executive order saying, hey, you need to be able to prove that you can vote, i.e. you're a citizen, in order to Well, vote. That's pretty common sense. I think everybody agrees with that. Well, it didn't take long before a bunch of libs got together and filed a lawsuit trying to stop that executive order. Let's bring our panel back in. Brandon and Dave here talking about this idea that, well, civil rights groups, including the NAACP and I believe the ACLU, got together and said, no, we don't need to have to prove things in order to be able to vote. We don't need to prove that we're a citizen in order to vote. I thought this quote was particularly funny from an attorney from the ACLU. We know that providing documentation in general tends to fall more heavily on people who are already having so many obstacles thrown at them in their life. And if you're wondering where's the race part of it, don't worry, it's coming in the second sentence. These barriers, these are real barriers for populations that unfortunately intersect very much with voters of color. Dave, I want to start with you as a minority, I guess, if I'm looking at the screen accurately. What do we have to do to get those dumb minorities to just be able to get an ID? Because apparently the libs think that, we're just so stupid that you can't possibly have a verification of citizenship in order to be able to vote.
Well, there just needs to be more liberal white handholding. If we could just white liberals to give car rides to brown people to the DMV. And here's the thing, man, I'm kind of on their side. I'm kind of on their side when it comes to how difficult it is to get ID, and it all rests on the fact that you have to deal with the government to get these documents. It really is. It's a pain to try and get support. I've been trying to get a real ID for months now. They want me for a real ID to come up with all kinds of documents. I either need to have my naturalization paper, I need to have passport, I need to have a phone bill. I think I also, maybe need to have the diaper that I've been when I was 8 months old. All of these things to get a real ID. Hell, it's not racist for the state of California to require you to do that in order to take domestic flights. Somehow, Trump, and look, I think Trump knows that he can't just issue an executive order to change election law. I think he knows this. I think he's just to troll the left to get them to lose their minds over something that pretty much makes sense, right? Yeah. I mean, we know this. We know he can't do this. He's just forcing them to lose their minds, and I think that's sort of a lot of what his executive orders are. They're symbolic, and they're also meant to trigger them in ways that sort of, just them show their hand.
Yeah, that is a lot of interesting points there. Yeah, I think everybody agrees with, hey, executive order is not how you govern the country, but the only reason the presidents have been doing that lately is because Congress won't do their freaking job. And also, that's an interesting argument there. Yeah, the only problem with having an ID to vote is you have to deal with the freaking government that really just sucks. Hey, Brandon, so I guess to that point, libs I feel like are stepping in their own mess, for lack of a better term, saying, well, you need an ID to vote and it's super difficult to get an ID. And also we're the reason, the big government people, of why it's super difficult to get an ID. It kind of seems like a circular, kind of ironic situation they got going on there.
Yeah, I just, the irony in all of this is they come off as the most racist people with their arguments. They are, it's like, a few years ago, was it Vice President Kamala Harris said, black people don't know how to use computers. And then you see these people on TikTok, these black men on TikTok parading around the computer, trying to figure it out like it's their Zoolander or something. And, they say the most insulting things to these people, like, oh, we can't have voter ID because they don't know how to get to the DMV. We can't have voter ID because they don't know how to obtain an ID. It's like, these are people that know how this world works. So the more they say it, the more racist and loony they look.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's very demeaning to folks like me who I figured it out. I figured out how to prove my citizenship. So I guess I'm one of the smarter ones, according to the libs. So this is actually interesting, and I would love to get both of your takes on this. We got about a minute left here. TikTok has a forced sale. The deadline is Saturday, and the big new player that's jumped in is Amazon, looking to buy TikTok. Just real quick, Dave, what do we think? Do we trust Amazon over the Chinese Communist Party? I would probably say so, but it doesn't mean I necessarily trust them wholeheartedly. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it would be hypocritical for me to say that I don't trust Amazon, because I purchase things from Amazon all the time, and a vast majority of those things are made in China. So, you know, I don't really care who purchases TikTok at this point. I have a TikTok. I feel shameful in that. I just don't know what I'm gonna do if TikTok gets banned, and you know, I can't make my dollar a month from the terrible dances that I could potentially be doing.
Brandon, do you think Amazon is going to would be a good purchaser if they were able to secure that deal?
I mean, Amazon is obviously a successful business. So there's no doubt that they'll be able to sustain it and, you know, maybe even enhance it with security measures or features or whatever. But, you know, to hit Dave's point, I don't really care who buys it either, because at this point, I just assume whether it be the CCP or Amazon or the U.S. government or my next door neighbor, they got all my information. So, you know, wherever they go, whichever way they decide is fine with me.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to watch that play out over the weekend. David Hahn, Brandon Drey, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Yeah,
all right. Hey, coming up next is a clip from Alex Clark's Culture Apothecary podcast, and also Throwdown Thursday right after that. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.